Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Burning Abyss deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one, guys, because we just got an awesome new tech monster to actually play in this deck in the form of number F0 Utopic Draco Future. Now, this card is extremely easy to summon in this deck and just takes this deck to a whole new level and is really, really awesome playing this deck. This deck has so much versatility in the way it actually plays, and I have totally teched out this BA deck for you guys. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notifications squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome awards, like getting your name in description in every single video, getting a signed card to the and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Skarm Malebranche of the Burning Abyss. So all of your Malebranches have the exact same effect. They have one unique effect, but they all share the following effect: that if you control a monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster, you destroy them, and then you can only use one of the effects per turn, one of the following effects per turn. They all share this effect, that if you control no spell or traps, you can instantly special summon them from your hand, but you lose the unique effect. Now, each one of them has a unique effect that we're going to go over as we go through the Burning Abyss monster. So Skarm has the ability that he actually developed an entire phrase in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That during the end phase, if this card is sent to the graveyard, or if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add one level 3 Dark Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, which actually developed the phrase Skarm in phase, which is kind of neat. We then play 3 copies of Seer, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss. Seer's unique effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to target a Burning Abyss monster in your graveyard, except another copy of itself, and special summon it, which is great for combos in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Graph, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss, that if this card is sent to your graveyard, you can special summon a Burning Abyss monster from the deck, which is really good for the deck as well. We play 2 copies of Farfa, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a monster on the field and banish it until the end phase, which is really helpful to deal with certain problematic cards or bait cards out where your opponent wants to keep a monster on the field. We then play 2 copies of Libic, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss, that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one level 3 Dark Fiend monster from your hand, but its effects are negated, which is kind of neat because it also negates the effect of destroying themselves, so this card comes in ridiculously handy. We then play a single copy of Barbar. Barbar has a burn effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to target up to 3 Burning Abyss monsters in your graveyard, banish them except himself, and then if you do, your opponent loses 300 life points for each one that you banish. So if you only banish 1, they take 3. If you banish a total of 2, they take 6. If you banish all 3, they take 9, which is pretty good. We play a single copy of Alec, Malebranche of the Burning Abyss as well. Alec is really helpful too. This card's kind of neat because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to target a face-up monster on the field, and its effects are negated until the end phase. This card works really well with your copy of Beatrice because you can just send it directly from deck to grave to be able to activate the effect during your opponent's turn, which is super helpful. This card's really, really helpful because Beatrice has the following effect: that basically she lets you once per turn during either player's turn detach a material from her and then send a card from your deck to the graveyard, which can be the Alec, to give you a negation on the field. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide from the Underworld is really awesome in this deck. She is the best normal summon in the deck because she lets you special summon a level 3 Fiend from your deck to your side of the field, but its effects are negated, so she kind of bypasses that whole effect of destroying themselves if you control something that's not a Burning Abyss. We then play 3 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Fiendish Rhino Warrior is also very helpful because if this card, or Fiend type monsters you control, except Fiendish Rhino Warrior, cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, which basically prevents them all from being destroyed by their own card effects, which is awesome. And it also has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard as well, which is pretty good, just to be able to send you an additional Fiend from the deck to the grave, because all of them will pretty much go off when they touch the grave. We then play a single copy of Absolute King Backjack. Absolute King Backjack is a awesome card in this deck. Backjack has the ability that during your opponent's turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard, and this is a quick effect: activate the top card of your deck, and if it is a normal trap, set it to your side of the field, otherwise send it to the graveyard, and that set card can be activated this turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then place them on top of the deck in any order, which is really good to mill this card with a Dante. I really love that ability to just mill it with a Dante and get you a trap card, which is really helpful, and rearrange the top of your deck. This card is so good. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the traps, because we play no spells in this deck. There is absolutely 0 spells in this particular build, which is awesome. So we're going to open up with a single copy of Imperial Order, because you don't play spells in this deck. This card literally does nothing to you and just stops your opponent from activating spells. You do take 700 points of damage, and it's not optional, or this card is destroyed. So basically, it's just really good to be able to just stop spells with this card. We play 2 copies of Compulsory Evacuation Device because it helps to bounce opponents' monsters, and plus you do play Trap Trick in this deck, so you play 2 of each of your normal traps to be able to banish one and be able to activate the other one, or be able to set it to your field with Trap Trick. We play 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster because we have no way of dealing with back row except for this card, so this card is very pivotal to being able to stop your opponent from doing back row stuff. We play 3 copies of Fiend Griefing. Fiend Griefing lets you discard, or lets you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then you send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. This card is very helpful in this deck to be able to just send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard, especially like something like an Absolute King Backjack that you want to get to the graveyard, or a particular Malebranche monster that you need to get to the graveyard to go into a play against your opponent. We then play 3 copies of Torrential Tribute, because Torrential Tribute literally looks at your opponent and goes, hey, no field for you. And the really cool thing is Utopic Draco Future can be destroyed by battle or by card effects, so this card just looks at it and goes, hey, that's really neat. You put this on top of a F0, and then you basically just go, hey, destroy field with my copy of my Torrential, which is kind of neat. We then play 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. This card is the only card in the entire deck that I believe is not really budget, which you can change this card out for like a Karma Cut or something else that you want. Like any other normal trap this card can work with. So you can change this card out if you want to play something else, maybe 3 Story Mirror Forces for another budget option for you guys, or a Karma Cut or something like that would be a good option for you guys if you're looking to build a budget Burning Abyss deck instead of a really expensive one. But this card is really good. Hopefully it'll get reprinted in the Megatons, but it is probably going to get reprinted, so don't worry about it for too long. This card will be budget very soon. Basically what this card does is lets you target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated, and then you can banish a card from both players' fields that have the same type as each other. So basically, if your opponent's playing a Omni type deck where it's all the same type, you can basically have, for example, let's say you have a Fiend in your opponent's graveyard, and then they have a Fiend on their field. You will special summon the Fiend from their graveyard and then banish both the monsters, which is really helpful to get spot removal off the field, especially if they're playing something that you don't want to deal with. This card is absolutely necessary to deal with cards. So then we're going to be playing 3 copies of Paleozoic Dynamiscus. Dynamiscus is really helpful in a trap-based deck because you just target a face card on the field, discard a card, and if you do, banish it. And then once per chain, when a trap is activated, you can special summon this card up in the graveyard, and you can special summon this card as a Aqua, level 2, 1200 attack, 0 defense, and this card is not treated as a trap card, and if this card is summoned this way, it's unaffected by monster effects, and banish it when it leaves the field. So it's pretty good just to play this card as a 3-of in the deck to be able to discard any of your Malebranches and banish card, and then if you need another monster on the field or link materials, you can basically special summon it back. We then play 3 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is so essential in this deck because Trap Trick basically makes this whole deck go round, because you banish a normal trap from your deck, except another copy of itself, and set another trap with the same name from your deck to your side of the field, and it can be activated this turn. Also, you can only activate 1 more trap for the rest of the term, which is pretty good because it's just an overall really good card that basically searches every single one of these cards except for Imperial Order. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of F0. Now this card is the most awesome boss monster that Burning Abyss has gotten in a long time, since like Borreload Savage. What this card does is this card's original rank is always treated as 1, because as you notice, it has no rank, which is kind of neat. It's always treated as a rank 1. And this card is always treated as a Utopic Future card. You can also execute some of this card using an F0 Utopic Future you control as a material, and transfer all the materials to that monster to this card, and it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects either. So this card lives through Torrential, which is awesome. Then once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, detach a material, and it is a quick effect, negate the activation, and if you do, that monster is now yours and you gain material, or you gain control of that card, which is really, really good. You just immediately negate the activation and take control of it. This card is awesome as a one-of in this deck to be able to just basically be your boss monster in this particular build. You then play a single copy of Atopic Future, which you might be looking at this card and going, wait, how hard is that card to summon? It's not. You just use 2 Dantes to summon this card because it has the ability that it takes 2 monsters with the same rank except number monsters to summon this card. You basically use this card as a stepping stone to go into your Utopic Draco, and it also has the ability that if this card battles an opponent's monster, then basically you get the ability to take control of that opponent's monster until the end of the battle phase, which is really cool because if this card battle an opponent's monster, you can take control of that opponent's monster until the end of the battle phase, and if this haste card on the field would be destroyed by a card effect, then you just detach a material from this card instead. So this card is really good to summon out to your side of the field. Play a single copy of Downer Magician. Downer Magician is basically just here to overlay on top of a Dante if you want to make Zeus. Zeus is also very helpful in this deck. You don't have to like summon this card all the time because Utopic Draco is just the card in this deck. So this card's pretty good because it board wipes and it helps out a lot in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Dante. The reason I actually play 3 Dante in my build is because like usually I like to play 2, but 3 is like the best in this particular build because you're using it with the copy of the F-Zero. Because you're going to use this card all the time to mill 3 and then immediately summon another Dante and then mill 3 more to get all your effects off, and then you go into a Utopic Future and then go into a Utopic Draco with all the traps that you need set. We then play a single copy of Beatrice. Beatrice can be made on top of Dante, and also she has the ability that you can also, during your opponent's turn, detach a material from her to send a card from your deck to the graveyard, which is pretty good just to be able to send a card from your deck to the graveyard. This card's really good as a one-of in here because it's at 1 currently. So, for the other monsters we're playing outside of XZs, we're playing a single copy of Dante Pilgrim. Dante Pilgrim is here because you can summon him off the effect of Beatrice if Beatrice is destroyed. Because if she's destroyed by your opponent's battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Burning Abyss monster in your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is your Dante Pilgrim, which is a really good card. 1 copy of Cherubini. Cherubini is also helpful in this deck because monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by card effects. And if this card would be destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, you can send another card you control to the graveyard instead, and you can also send a level 3 Fiend monster to your graveyard and then target a Burning Abyss monster on the field, and it gains attack equal to the monster's attack that was sent to the graveyard, which is really, really good. We then play the same copy of Boral Sword to help you OTK your opponent, which is great in this deck. Appaloosa just to give you additional negations, which is nice, and it's pretty easy to actually summon this card in this deck. 1 copy of Unicorn to bounce stuff, which is really good. IP Masquerade because you might want to make Unicorn during your opponent's turn, and then a single copy of Link Spider, which you guys are looking at Link Spider and going, wait, where do you summon that in this deck? There's no normal monsters. Well, there actually is because of Dynamiscus. So Dynamiscus special summons itself as a normal monster, and a lot of these cards actually require you to have a effect monster to summon them, like your copy of your Appaloosa, or not your Appaloosa, but your copy of your Boral Sword. So you use the copy of Link Spider to actually go into it. But if you don't want to play the Link Spider, you can play something like a Nightmare Phoenix instead to pop spells and traps. But I kind of felt like I already had that handled. So I just played the Link Spider instead because I liked the Link Spider's idea to give me an additional monster on the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. It's a really awesome deck. I really like the way that this deck turned out. It's really awesome to actually be able to play Utopic Draco Future because this card is ridiculous in this deck. This card is so powerful of a card to be able to summon in this deck with double Dante. And then you even got the 3rd Dante to go into if you need to. Usually you won't need to mill more than 6, usually, but sometimes you will. But it's a really fun deck to be able to play around with. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.